Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 13 of the Wardle Road Brake Van series. Now today it's a really hot day, possibly the hottest day we've had since I've been coming down here the last few months. And the first thing we need to do, you may see this to my side here, this is my latest tool, Bosch acquisition. It is their 18 volt strimmer. I'm slowly getting my way through the collection. I've also got the Orbital, battery powered Orbital sander as well. But the first thing we need to do is go over to the back of the Mermaid and basically clear up some of the nettles so we can get to the axle boxes, ready for some axle box maintenance. After that, we're going to come back here and we're going to jump up onto the veranda as I have some paints with me today, and hopefully we're going to get a little bit of the front of here painted to the correct grey, fingers crossed. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying this series and if you've been following along so far, any feedback, of course, leave it in the comment section below. You can now support the channel an extra way, should you wish. In the comment section, there should be a button that says thanks, and you can actually donate via comments now, if that's something you want to do. Of course, you don't have to, but any support is always much appreciated, and it all goes back into the channel, to the brake van, and possibly project number 2, which I won't give away too much about now. But yeah, let's get into the video. Right, so that's most of the strimming done. Now, some of the plants around the back of that, some of the brambles are actually slightly too thick for the strimmer. So what I'm gonna have to do is go and get a pair of shears or something just to get through those slightly larger branches. But as you can see, the stinging nettles, the strimmer made no issue with getting through all of them. Now, as I mentioned at the start, we're going to attempt to paint this. Now, this has been given maybe 3-4 coats of wood preserver. And it's been out here for a fair amount of time, but as the weather's so lovely and dry today, I thought, why not see if we can get it painted. So I was actually recommended, I can't remember who by, so I do apologise if you're watching, but this aluminium wood primer. Now we're going to get a coat of that on to start with, let it dry, and then I was also recommended to actually use boat and barge paint, as apparently it's slightly more water resistant, which on a wooden brake van is possibly the most important thing, is keeping the water out. And hopefully this is the right shade of grey as well. So what we're going to do is get a coat of this on. Once it's dried, get a coat of this on. And then once all of that's dried, I might get the Orbital sander out and start working away at some of the uprights as well. But yeah, trying to get this painted today and see where we go from there. So let's jump into another time lapse. Right, so while we let that coat of the aluminium wood primer dry off, it's already starting to get dry to the touch already. What I've just been doing now is going down with a cloth, because since we last painted this, it's got very dusty. So obviously before I attempt to put any paint over the top, I just need to make sure I've removed as much of the dust as possible. Now of course this is going to end up being white eventually, so I'm not going to need to paint over that till we obviously put the white paint on. However, as I mentioned earlier, I do now have what I believe is hopefully the correct grey. So what we're going to do is apply some. Now it's a lot lighter than the original stuff already, which is a good sign. So all I'm going to do really is dive straight into it with what is hopefully... Now it's going to need a few coats because obviously it's over a black surface. But I think we may have actually found the correct grey. don't want to jinx it obviously, but... And this is going to dry very quickly out here as well, I imagine, with the way the weather is at the moment. Yeah, I think... I'm not sure if it's better to put it on with a brush or you get a fair few bubbles when doing like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a brush and then get a coat of this on here and go from there. But it's looking a bit more positive. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think once it's painted, obviously. If you reckon we've got it fairly spot on. So yeah, I'm going to go grab a brush and carry on. Right, so we've moved on a couple of days from the last set of clips. We're back in the workshop because what I want to do today is get as much of this door fitted and finished as possible. So that way, especially with the new grey that I've got, which will be the correct colour for the rest of the brake van, I can get this painted correctly. And I've also had a delivery from Steve at Railway Laser Lines, who has very kindly sorted me out with these Wardle Road stencils. So, you know, I mentioned at the start, well, very early on, that I wanted some way of sort of putting the Wardle Road twist on it, if you like. I think at the bottom, either using this as the undercoat, which will obviously the rest of the colour will appear around that, or using the actual letters, which I have here, and then sort of tacking them down, painting over the top, which will mean when these are moved, you'll have the slightly lighter or darker grey underneath, just to give that faint sort of WR at the bottom there. And even got the train there as well for if I'm using it with the stencil the other way around. So I've got to decide which way I want to do this down here. And then once I've done that, I'm then going to give this whole door on this side a paint of the grey paint that we used on the brake van, so it should match. And then we'll flip it over and do the same, paint the other side, sand and paint the other side, and then this should be good to go back on the brake van, hopefully. Getting it back to the brake van will be a different issue, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. So I'm going to crack on now and yeah, enjoy the time lapse. Right, so that's the door with its final coat of grey on top of the base coat. Now, I've still got to do the other side, so what I need to do is let this dry, peel away all of this frog tape, flip it over, paint it. Now, you'll see down the bottom here, I didn't end up going for the WR as the two greys between the base coat and the top coat were so similar you could barely see it. So what I'm probably going to do is get the larger stencil once this is dry and spray paint with white paint over the WR here, so I can see a nice clear WR with the train logo on it as well. So obviously before this goes to the brake van, I need to carry on with the prep work around the frame. So I'm going to grab the paint, some wood preserver and a sander. We're going to go up to the brake van and hopefully get the frame ready, at least on the outside. So then either today, once I've painted the other side, or tomorrow at some point, we can try and wheel the door back up there and get it fitted again. So still a lot to do to get this into its final place, but hopefully we can crack on today and get most of that done. So yeah, let's move on. Right, so day 3 is slowly drawing to a close, and today the temperature has not let off at all. It's been extremely hot once again today. Now, speaking to Mick from the engineering department, he actually said that obviously if you paint, especially gloss paint, in temperatures like this with direct sunlight on it, it's going to form like a skin over the top and actually bubble up without even drying properly to the wood. And as I mentioned earlier, there was a fair few amount of bubbles across the top here. So what I've started doing is actually just sanding back this. The front edge here is actually all right. There's a couple of spots that I need to go over, but the top surface here I've completely sanded back to the base. And then what I'm going to do on a more overcast day is actually repaint this with a matte undercoat and then over the top again with the gloss. So while messing around sanding this down here, one thing I may have mentioned a few episodes ago is these couple of chaps here, these sit basically where the arm comes up to stop you falling over the edge. These basically sit in them, and problem is when this was going along, these were rattling all over the place. So what I've decided to do is with a very fine saw, I've gone down the back of them and just sawn out the bolts, and then with a hammer and a punch, I've actually managed to remove the bolts from here, and I haven't got one with me now, but they were completely rusted up. So what I'll do now is show you a close-up. I haven't decided yet whether I want to go for the circular washer at the bottom. Obviously that means it'd need a bit of wood fill in here, or does it look neater with the slightly larger square washers? So obviously before these go in permanently, I've got to sand down all of this wood and repaint it, and I also want to replace these bolts here as well, as the bracket for the lamp is wobbly, so that needs to be dealt with. But then obviously, yeah, these two here, as you can see, you might be able to see here, but these are actually a square outline, so it's designed for the coach bolt to sit fairly flush inside both the holes, and then that lip at the bottom there actually locks in to the upright. So what I need to do is tidy these up, so as you can see there's a lot of sort of lumps of rust and things that need to be removed so they sit a little bit neater in the bottom there. then decide what washer we should go for. So do let me know in the comments whether you think it looks neater with the square. I do like the square actually, it looks a bit more formal and covers up the mess of the hole that was previously there. Or do we just go for the standard 10mm round washers again? And then before that's permanently put on, we want to remove these brackets and then sand down the rest of this, getting rid of some of the roofing felt adhesive that's made its way down here as well when we were doing the roof. Prime, paint them, basically this whole end piece, get this painted. I want to paint this the same time as I do this one, so we need to get this one into the same or similar state as this, ready to be primed and painted again, and then we can put the brackets and everything back on. But yeah, do let me know what you think about the washers. I'm undecided. But yeah, that basically sums up what we've been getting onto today. I think that's where we're going to leave this episode. Now, as I mentioned, this is day 3, so this video spans over a fair amount of time. I'd probably put some shots in somewhere as well of us removing a few roof pieces from an old abandoned box van in a field, and those roof supports I'll actually use again at some point, probably on the brake van, because the cross beams, the arch beam wooden beams on the brake van could do with replacing later on down the line. And obviously with these, well, not new, but newer metal ones, that's going to give the roof a lot more strength when we come around to doing that again. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. It goes a long way to pushing the video out to reach more people. Feel free to share it on various social medias, and of course any feedback is always welcome in the comment section. And don't forget, if you want to go the extra mile, you can always become a channel member, which you can do below, as well as donate in the comment section. And all the money, of course, goes into this project, as well as another project which you will find out more about in the next episode. So yeah, other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in episode 14.